Hey guys, welcome back. We are doing lesson 13 for Wit and Wisdom. Let's get busy. We're going to start off by reading page 15, a sentence there. And it says, he patted and matted her fur, and it tangled like the very forest floor. And look at the picture. I'll show you the picture up close there. Okay, now you see her. So what clues outside and inside the word matted might tell you what it means? Now think about that. What clues outside and inside the word matted tell you what it means? Well, the other words in the sentence tell us how the Barry godfather patted Ella's fur. And other words also tell us about how the Barry godfather tangled her fur like the forest floor. The illustration on page 16 shows Ella's fur looking fluffy, bright, and golden, but with no flowers. And I even saw the word mat before. It's what you put in front of your door to wipe your feet on. Like you slept on a mat in kindergarten, right? The ending ed means it happened in the past. So the root word there would be mat. Mat. So I think matted here means to make something look nice, because a mat keeps your house looking nice, and the illustration shows Ella's fur was bright and fluffy. So matted means knotted because the Bigfoots like to look messy. So matted means knotted. He patted the knotted fur and it tangled like the very forest floor. All right, let's move on. So focus question, why do people admire the rough face in Ella? Our content framing, what is happening in Bigfoot Cinderella? And when you organize your thoughts about a story, what do we normally do? We use our story element chart, right? So today we are going to use our story element chart and put in our setting, our characters, our solution, our resolution, and our problems. So that's what we are going to work on, is our story element chart. And I am going to turn this off for now because we are going to do it together. So let me get my chart for us to use. Dandy chart. All right, so let me see here. Yep, let me bring it closer so you guys can see it. I know I've got a glare there. Let's see here. I'll move it this way. That's better. Okay. All right, so let's talk characters. Who are the characters in Bigfoot Cinderella? Well, we have Ella, of course. Ella. Who else do we have? We have the Barry godfather. We have the Bigfoot prince. And what about the stepmother and the stepsisters? They're characters too, aren't they? So stepmom and stepsisters. So where did this story take place? It was in a forest, wasn't it? I spelled that wrong. I added too many R's there. Forest. All right. So now, what is the problem of this story? The problem is that her stepmom and stepsisters are mean to her. So I'm going to put our problem is going to go right here. The problem, stepmom and step sisters are mean to her. Okay, so that's a problem. So let's talk about events in our story, starting at the beginning and going to the end of the story. Move it down so we can see. So the events taking place. Ella gives a fish to a hungry bear. To a hungry bear, and her stepsisters get mad because that was their supper. What happened when they got mad? They put flowers all in her fur, didn't they? Yes, and she didn't like that. Ella also wants to go to the Fun Fest. Wants to go to the Fun Fest, but her stepsisters won't let her. Okay. Then who shows up? The berry godfather, right? And he uses his magic. So the berry godfather uses his magic to make bark clogs. For Ella to wear. Okay. Then what happens? She goes to the Fun Fest. Ella dunks the prince. Dunks the prince, leaves the fest. Before the magic wears off. Ella loses one of the clogs. For some reason, I am struggling on spelling today. Ella loses a clog. Raise it up again. Oh, wrong way. Okay. Bigfoot prince makes every Bigfoot woman try it on. Okay, has everyone tried on? And then what happens? Ella tried it on and it fit. Ella's foot fit the clog. And what happened after that? They got married. Right? Okay. So our characters, we have Ella, the Barry godfather, Bigfoot Prince, stepmom and stepsisters. Our setting is the forest. Our problem is stepmom and stepsisters are mean to her. The events in the story show where Ella gives a fish to a hungry bear. The stepsisters get mad with her, and then they put flowers all in her fur. Ella wants to go to the fun fest, but her stepsisters won't let her. They just keep giving her things to do. Barry Godfather uses his magic to make bark clogs for Ella to wear. She goes to the fun fest, dunks the prince, and leaves the fest before the magic wears off. In the process of running off, she loses one of the clogs. Bigfoot Prince finds it, and then he takes it around and has everyone try it on until he comes to Ella, and Ella's foot fit the clog. So the end, the resolution, how does all this tie together? The resolution is they get married, and she even invites her stepmom and stepsisters to the wedding. But there was some stipulations when they come to the wedding too. They couldn't pick flowers, and they couldn't kick the royal family anymore, or they couldn't throw logs. All right, so let's move this. This back on. Okay, let me back this up a little bit so you can see it. So we have already worked on our story elements. So let's move forward. So let's retell the story. Well, let's think about how we would retell the story. I can't talk and I can't write today, friends. So if I was retelling the story, I would say that Ella lived with her stepsisters and her stepmom. They made fun of her and made her work. Ella was nice, and she gave her fish to a hungry bear. Ella wanted to go to the prince's fun fest, but her stepsisters said no. Then her Barry godfather came and made her bark clogs and matted her fur. Ella arrived at the fun fest and dunked the prince. That means she could marry the prince. Then she ran away because the magic was wearing off. The prince had all the Bigfoot women try on the bark clog, but it was too big. Finally, Ella tried it on and it fit. And so her and the prince were married, and the stepmom and stepsisters could come to the wedding if they followed the rules. Okay, so let's experiment with some reasons. It says we will be considering our feelings on one of the good characters in the story, the Barry godfather. So how does supplying reasons work? Now remember, when we supply reasons, we have to think about why we would do this. We would state our opinion, like I think, I feel, I like, or in my opinion. Okay? So in this, we're going to talk about the Barry godfather. So I want you to think about and write a reason to support an opinion statement about the Barry godfather. And you could start that sentence by going one reason blank. So in your journal, I want you to write one reason blank. Now that's where you can put, I think the Barry godfather is what? Or I feel the Barry godfather is, or I like the Barry godfather, or in my opinion, the Barry godfather. Father, I can't talk for nothing. I'm struggling today, friends. So that's going to go in your journal. All right. So you're only talking the Barry Godfather. Let's move on. So I won't stop struggling. So your sentence starter, one reason, okay? Not two, but just one reason. Now we are going to look at 13B. All right. We are going to look at 13B. So I am going to mute that, and I'm going to share my screen with you. 13B, let me back it up some. All right, 13B. The directions say, read the opinion statement, then write a reason in the box underneath that supports the opinion statement. So you're going to write again on your paper. It says, I feel Barry Godfather is kind. And I want you to give me a reason why you think he is kind. You're going to give me a reason why. Okay. Now, we were writing an opinion statement earlier. Now we're going to give a reason why we think he is kind. What does he do to prove that he is kind? Think back into the story. All right. Think about what he does for Ella. So write that on this page, and then this will be turned in. Okay. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing. And we are going to go back up to the screen up here. All right, so what is happening in Cinderella? So how did we find the story elements? Well, we talked about it, didn't we? We discussed what the story elements were, because you all don't have the book and I do. So I was the one that was going back in the book and doing the story elements. So fluency homework check-in. I'm going to actually do it now because the last time I forgot to do it. So we're going to share our screen again. I feel like I'm all over the place today with this lesson. I'm sorry, friends. All right, so let's go back up here to A. We've got, remember our characters, narrator, Ella, and Barry Godfather. How Rella longed to go. Sadly, she stared at the river. She saw a fish jump. She made a wish on the fish. Me wish go fun fest. Me wish dunk prince. Heartfelt wish is true wish, and so you go. Rella spun around. She was staring at the bear. Then the very one she had given the fish. Who you? Me, your Barry Godfather. Okay, here's option B. The day grew late. Everyone had tried to win. Everyone had failed. Rats, no bride. Me dunk prince. Grunting with all of her might, she spun the log like a big twig. Then she gave it a twist and a flop. The prince flopped into the river. Okay. So now that's our fluency, so make sure you're practicing that, okay, friends? Now we'll go back up onto the screen again. So it's time for our deep dive. So it says, use a pronoun in a sentence and tell a friend that sentence. I went to the store. What pronoun did I use there? I, correct? Okay, so personal pronouns. So how do we use our personal pronouns in our work? We can replace names with personal pronouns if we're talking about the same person throughout our story, correct? Yes. So what I want us to do is I want us to brainstorm a list of either proper or common nouns that are cool. And then we could list pronouns that go along with those nouns. So for example, let's see here. Put nouns like Mary, boy, and I'll put teacher. Now, Mary is a proper noun because it is a person's name, but boy and teacher are common nouns. What pronoun could I use for Mary? You could use the pronoun she or her, depending how it's used in the sentence. Boy can be he or his, depending on how it's used also. And teacher could be her, him, she, or he, depending if the teacher is a female or a male. All right. So Cinderella spun around. Now that is the noun or the subject of that sentence. What pronoun could we put instead of Cinderella? We could put she, couldn't we? Okay. What about our next one? The prince lurched from the water, dripping, crushed. What could we put for prince? He. So we can take that out and we'll take that out. The last one, the daughters were puny things with dinky feet. The daughters, how can we replace them? They were puny things with dinky feet. All right, my friends, that is the end of this lesson. Thank you for working so hard, and I will see you back here tomorrow. Bye, guys.